Here it is. So this is the day.
And it's beautiful. There isn't a cloud in this.
I know.
There's a couple, but nothing major.
It's gorgeous. So we're heading to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. We've got all our permits in hand. Everything's all set. And
about daggone time.
yeah, so you're going to start this tug maybe. So we'll have some fun with this.
All right, here we go.
So after, gosh, and I'll kind of, go ahead and start it.
No, try it.
Oh, that's right. Well, here it is, a beautiful Saturday morning, June 25th, 2022. Last time this airplane flew was in 2004. So we've gone through all of the work required to get a ferry permit, and that's all in hand, obviously. Doing a walk around to make sure that the propellers didn't fall off overnight. Landing gear's still down, and there's no puddles of fluid all over the floor, which would not be a good thing. Spent about an hour getting the cameras all set up and making sure the audio worked and all that kind of good stuff. So we're all set to go. Beautiful day today here, and over in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, should be about 80 degrees, which is just gorgeous. Not a cloud in the sky. Planned at 15,500. Should be trued out at about 220 knots at that speed at 60% power. So we're going to see if everything works. Hopefully it all does. Next, we'll head over and get some fuel before we take off. Don't know exactly how much is in the airplane because who knows what's been put in, so at least that way we'll get the totalizer set correctly. And won't run the cameras till we get done with the fueling, and then head on out of here to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. I'm Eric Reese. I sell real estate for a living, but I fly and instruct in the Aerostar for fun. Join us on our travel and training adventures in the world's fastest light piston twin.
Paine Field, airplane information at Delta 1753 Zulu, wind at 0704, visibility 10, sky clear, temperature 60.1, altimeter 3029er. Visual approach used for arriving on departing runways 1 fixed right and 1 fixed left. Note the air mission. Hazardous weather information for Washington available on flight service frequencies. Advise on initial contact, yes, Delta.
So this is a hot start.
Oh, different,
So
yeah.
I'm not going to prime it. I'm going to open the throttles the same, but maybe just a tad more, just to get a little bit more air in there. So instead of an eighth of an inch, maybe a quarter.
Oh,
So
okay.
we'll clear the right. Boost pumps are going to go on, and no prime. And it'll crank a few more times, but it'll start a lot easier than if you try to prime it.
Perfect. You called it. Okay.
Okay, so oil pressure is coming up, and our oil pressure comes up slow on this airplane because what's going on is there's actually an oil line that comes from the pump all the way into the cabin to the gauge. And since the airplane had been sitting such a long time, it is gunked up in there, and it takes a while for it to show the pressure. We double checked that by checking the pressure at the pump when we started the engine, and it comes up almost instantaneously. So Aerostar will clean that all out for us. So once the pressure's up, we're going to go ahead and turn the boost pump off. Now, sometimes on a hot start, since there's a lot of vapor in the fuel, if I shut the pump off, it may not continue to run.
And it does.
And it does on this one, so that's good. So we have both hydraulic pressure, and we have pressure pump pressure, or sometimes known as a vacuum pump, even though we're using those in reverse. All right, so we do the same thing with the other one. I'm going to leave the door open because it's hot. Pumps on. Yours actually starts easier than mine. Okay, let's turn the hydraulic pump on, fan on. We're going to go turn the trims. We'll put the Moran down, or the GPS down on number This isn't good. Well, after all of that, trying to get the cameras working, the audio working, and everything else, the GoPros overheat. One of them battery backed out, I didn't know it, and the backup iPhone wasn't set up correctly. So guess what? I'm gonna have to wing it. So on the climb out, I left the power up at max continuous for a while because I knew that if anything was going to happen with the power, it's usually right at the first power change. So I'm going to come back to climb power, which is 37.5 inches and 2400 RPM, and we'll let it stay there pretty much all the way up to 15.5. And that worked out great. Turbocharger stayed solid at 37 all the way up to 15.5. Didn't really have enough time or distance to go up into the flight levels, and I didn't want to push it anyway. Plus, we were having a little bit of a pressurization issue to where there must be some leaks in the cabin somewhere because we weren't able to get up to the full 4.25 PSI. So now coming into Coeur d'Alene, I decided to set up the autopilot and see if it would intercept because the autopilot hadn't been used for the ILS. So I set myself up on a 45-degree intercept. It intercepted okay, but the glide slope flag was up, so we weren't able to capture the glide slope. And everything looked pretty good on the landing. It's too bad the camera wasn't in the wide mode, so it was focused in the distance, but landing was pretty good. Winds were about 9 knots, about a 45-degree crosswind gusting to 16, so it wasn't super smooth, but the landing turned out just fine. Now I got to get out of the way for a citation that's on our tail. So we made it. Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, Aerostar's home base. So the airplane will be sitting here being worked on for quite some time. Not sure exactly what all of the needs are going to be, but the first thing will be a major annual. We'll go through that and see what needs to be fixed, and then after that, there's 3 things on the list that would be really, really nice to have, and air conditioning is one of those because it was hot and we were really hot, and the previous owner had closed off the inlets to the intercoolers for the bleed air heat, and it was hot. I mean, it was probably 100 degrees coming out of the vent, so it was super hot. So we'll get that squared away, get those vents installed correctly. And then the next thing will probably be no icing, because that's fairly important in the Northwest, and we have no icing on this airplane at all at this point in time. And the last thing that will be done as far as the airframe goes is the larger brake system, so we've got more braking power. And then we've got to have a GTX 345 transponder put in, and most likely a newer GPS. There's plenty of used 650s or 750s out there, so we'll find one of those and get it done, and it'll probably be 3 months, and we'll have it back. Please make sure you subscribe and like the videos, and also don't forget to ring that bell so you'll get a notification when the next video comes out.